3 months ago, they were slaves. 3 months ago, they had no army, no weapons, no military training of any kind. They had spent their entire lives under Egyptian whips, making bricks. They had never held a sword. They had never been told they were anything other than property. But today, they had to fight. And here is the part that no one prepares you for. Whether they won or lost this battle had nothing to do with how well they fought. It had everything to do with what was happening on a hilltop nearby. This is Rephidim. The year is approximately 1446 BC, and this is the day God revealed something about prayer that the church is still trying to fully understand 3,000 years later. Let me set the stage. The people of Israel have just escaped 430 years of slavery in Egypt. Pharaoh's entire army, chariots, horses, soldiers, lies at the bottom of the Red Sea. The greatest military power in the ancient world has been humiliated on their behalf. You would think the road ahead is clear, but the desert of Sinai was not an empty place. It was someone else's territory.
Do not look back.
The Amalekites were a fierce, nomadic people, descendants of Esau, who had roamed this desert for generations. They were hardened warriors. They knew every rock, every water source, every natural advantage in this terrain. And when they looked at this enormous column of 2 million exhausted people, many of them sick, many of them elderly, many of them children, they did not see refugees. They saw an opportunity. But here is the detail that matters most. The Amalekites did not attack the front of the column where the strongest men were. They did not face the capable fighters. They attacked the back, the slowest, the weakest, the ones who could not run. God saw that. God remembered it. And 40 years later, he would bring it up again. Because there is something that provokes the judgment of God more than almost anything else.
Take them. Yeah!
Moses calls for a young man named Joshua. This is Joshua's first appearance in all of Scripture. He isn't a general yet. He's just a man being handed an impossible task.
Joshua, I am here, my lord.
Choose men, the best and bravest you can find. Fight Amalek.
And where will you be?
Choose. I will be at the top of the hill, with the staff of God in my hand, as commanded by our God.
Joshua asked no more questions. The faith of a leader is often measured not by the questions he asks, but by the ones he realizes he doesn't need to. Dawn breaks over Rephidim. On one side, the Amalekite army, professional, merciless killers. On the other, Israel's first army, former bricklayers, shepherds, and slaves. This is not a fair fight.
Look at them! They have iron weapons, shields, and training! We have farming tools and sticks!
Moses said God would be with us today. Moses is on the hill. We are down here in the dirt.
They did not yet understand what Moses on the hill would mean for them in the valley below. As long as Moses held his hands up, Israel prevailed. The moment he lowered them, Amalek prevailed. Think about the mystery of this. God was not watching the valley to see whose swords were sharper. He was watching the hilltop to see one man's posture. The soldiers in that valley, they had no idea their survival was tied to an old man's arm.
Moses, look! They are pushing them back. Every single time you raise the staff toward heaven, our men advance. I see it, Aaron. Keep watch.
But Moses is human. He is 80 years old, and the staff of God is heavy. The sun climbs higher, baking the rock. Gravity sets in, and then his hands begin to fall.
Moses! Your hands are dropping! Look below! I cannot hold them up any longer. My strength is gone.
This is the terrifying moment where everything could have ended. Not because God abandoned them, but because one man's human capacity had reached its absolute limit. And then, two men do something so simple, yet so profound. They don't try to fight in the valley. They look at the leader. They find a stone for him to sit on, and one on each side, they hold his arms up.
We have you, brother. We hold the weight together, Moses. Do not let go. Thank God for you both.
And just like that, the tide turns. For the rest of the day, Moses' hands stay steady until sunset. Down in the mud, Joshua's blade cuts through the opposition. Amalek is completely defeated. After the dust settled, Moses didn't build a monument to Joshua's military strategy. He didn't build a monument to his own endurance. He built an altar to God. And he gave it a name that changes how we view spiritual warfare.
Yahweh Nissi. The Lord is my banner.
In ancient warfare, a banner was a standard raised on a pole at the center of the camp. When the dust of battle made it impossible to see, when you were bleeding and lost, you looked up through the smoke for the banner, and you ran toward it. Moses was telling the world, when you are losing your mind in the valley, look up. God is the banner. 3 eternal revelations from the dirt of Rephidim. First, God does not always fight the way you expect. Victory isn't always about a sharper sword. Sometimes it's about the costly, exhausting discipline of keeping your hands raised in prayer when everything in you wants to quit. Second, what happens in your private place of devotion determines what happens on someone else's battlefield. There are people in your family, your business, and your community who will survive this week purely because you chose to stand on the hill for them. Third, God never intended for you to carry the weight alone. Even Moses needed a rock to sit on and an Aaron and Hur to hold his hands. If the greatest prophet in Israel needed support to win, what makes you think you can fight your battles alone? Israel's first victory was won because they learned to look to the hill. But what happens when a generation forgets the banner? Next week on The Lord of Hosts, Episode 02, The Failure at Hormah. They chose to march into battle without his presence, relying entirely on their own strength. What happened to them is one of the most sobering warnings in ancient history. Hit subscribe and walk through the fire with us.